We are live. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Blake Ruffino. This is Are You Serious Sports? We hope that you guys are making it a good one. We know that we are as well. I already know what you're going to say. Let's just go ahead and get it out of the way. Blake, where's the hat? I get it. I know. 406 episodes in. Blake, where's your hat? What I would tell you is no, I didn't get a fresh cut. We need to go get a fresh cut. But, hair was looking on point today. But we do got a hat right here just in case. Just in case. But a huge show in store for you tonight. Former LSU Tiger great Braden Fehoko joins us at 7:20. Got a lot I want to talk about Braden Fehoko. He's been making waves on social media about the best fast food joints. Serious debates going on with Braden Fehoko and fast food joints. We'll talk about that with him. We'll talk Super Bowl. We'll talk what he's thinking about LSU, what he's seeing, what he's feeling, what he's hearing. We'll talk all things with Mr. Fehoko. We'll do a hashtag Ask Blake. We did some questions the other night, but weren't able to get a lot of them. For whatever reason, had a lot of DMs today for us to do another hashtag Ask Blake. So we'll do it again. I will go on a little bit of a Ruffino's rants. There's some things that we're going to talk about around LSU football. Brian Kelly not done in recruiting. Some things that we're hearing around recruiting, what Brian Kelly is targeting, that we can somewhat feel comfortable about reporting and or talking about. So we'll talk about that. Will Wade. We talked about the basketball team a lot last night, but we'll continue to talk about Will Wade and this basketball team as they got a win last night against a struggling Texas A&M team. We will touch into Brian Harsin. We're going to talk some go around the SEC. We're going to change our segment name when we're talking about the SEC to Talking SEC, because God forbid, you do something that simulates something else, but whatever. We'll talk to Super Bowl some more, guys. I mean, one of, if not the best LSU Tiger of all time is in the Super Bowl, and you got a lot of Tigers that are represented there as well. And we've been mentioning it. We've been trying to talk about it over the last couple of weeks about LSU baseball, but tonight we will try to get into some LSU baseball. But yes, for sure. Pooh Bear says, let's get to comments before we get started too, but Pooh Bear says, hashtag Ask Blake, no Boosie fade. No, I got to go get lined up, dog. I'm struggling, but the hair was looking all right. So, look, if y'all want me to put the hat on, we'll put the hat on, okay? Do we need to put the hat on? Is it freaking you out? Okay. We'll put a hat on. How about that? If it makes everybody feel comfortable, we'll put a hat on. I need to go get that fresh Boosie fade anyway. We're a Visor State anyway. We're a Visor State. Jason Brumfield says, Visor State University. We are. Brian Kelly. So regardless, maybe we should have maybe I should have thought about that more. Craig Schilling says, we are live. I got to give out a big shout out to my man Tiger. If you missed it, I forget how old he is, but an AYS listener showed us a video of his son waiting and watching AYS. I wanted to give out a special shout out to Tiger as well. So shout out to him, man. Thank you for watching the show, little bud. And don't let anybody tell you can't do something. If someone ever tells you can't do something, they're lying. You can put anything that you put your mind to. Trust me, if I can do it, anybody can do it. Blake Quibido says, let's go. Tyler Mann says, we are live. Do we need to that we're gonna have to copyright that. We're gonna have to copyright that. We're gonna have to do it. Tyler Mann says, now it actually looks like you, bro. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. John Hendricks, our big Saints guy, the guy that reports a lot and everything about the Saints. They call him the Prophet. That's his nickname. Was supposed to drop by tonight, but he had an issue. He had some things. He had not anything serious, but he just had some reasons he needed to reschedule. But we'll get back with John Hendricks tomorrow. And so we got a lot of things coming there as well. So a lot of people, I saw some people asking about John Hendricks. He'll be back. He'll be with us tomorrow. Craig Schilling says, bring back the 5-head. Hashtag bring back the 5-head. Well, look, I do have a big old forehead, but I thought the hair was looking good. Stephen Ryan says, I feel better now. Yeah, I know. Gage says, hashtag ask Blake, how are you even more handsome without a hat on? Man, I tell you, I don't know. I don't know. Ask my wife. And Penn Jones sends us $19.99 via Super Chat. He says, let's get the new era started. And we want to be part of that new era. So before we get into all that, guys, we will be we've been working hard here. And Penn, thank you so much for the Super Chat. But thank you so much for doing that. We're going to be doing our part. If you know anybody and don't let it be cousins, my fourth cousin on my grandma's side, twice removed. If you know somebody around LSU athletics, Southeastern athletics, tell them to reach out to us. We got some big things coming. I would love to talk to them, and our partners over at AYS would like to talk to them too. So, got some big news coming. AYS NIL, SU. It's a mouthful. All right, we can get rolling. All right, before we get started, guys, everybody do us a favor by hitting the like and share. Share it to some Facebook groups. There's a lot of you on Facebook already. I see a lot of you already in there. We had at peak last night, 400 people inside of Facebook Live. We only had 200 likes. Everybody hit that like button. Share to some Facebook groups. Share to your social media pages. We greatly, greatly appreciate it. Everybody on YouTube. Hit that like button. Everybody on YouTube, also do us a favor by hitting the subscribe button and notification bell. I see a lot of you coming in as well. Don't forget to subscribe. Hit that notification bell. We've got a lot of content coming as we continue to expand here at AYS. So we greatly appreciate that. If you're listening to us on the audio podcast platform, do us a favor by rating and subscribing there as well. So let's do this. Let's get to a very, very quick break. We'll come back, and we got a lot to talk about. Rufino's rants, Brian Kelly recruiting, and Will Wade, and a little bit more. Stay tuned. None better than our good friends over at GM Varno & Sons, betonline.ag. Guys, with over 64 years of experience, nobody is better equipped to servicing your vehicle than GM Varno & Sons. RV repair, big rig overhauls, motorhome chassis, routine maintenance, tire rotations, tire sales. No job is too big or too small over at GM. Give them a call today at 225-664-9992. That's 225-664-9992. And tell them your good friend, Mr. Blake Rufino, over at AYS. Since you own by our good friends over at betonline.ag. Guys, I'm thinking I'm about to bet the house on Joey B. Have you seen the look in Joey B's eyes? He's ready, y'all. The place that I'm going to place all my bets, live bets, every bet, betonline.ag. Guys, if you haven't signed up today, go over on your mobile device at the end of the show. Sign up by using the Believe AYS podcast tab. They'll give you a 50% welcome bonus when you use that Believe AYS podcast tab. Deposit 100, they'll give you 50. Deposit 200, they'll give you 100. It's one of the best offers that you can get around, and it's always due to Believe and the AYS podcast tab. That's betonline.ag. Betonline.ag. All right, let's get this thing rolling, y'all. Seth says AYS making moves. Yeah, we're trying. Actually, we're doing more than trying. So we got a lot of things coming, man. Really excited. Really, really excited. Black Goatee on YouTube sends us $5 via Super Chat. Thank you so much. He says, first time hanging out on a live chat with you, Blake. What's up? Shout out to the Power Hour LSU crew. Carter, the Power Bryant. And he says, go Tigers. Thank you so much, Black Goatee. Y'all know I'll always shout out my good friend Carter Bryant. Always. Richie Evans says, hashtag ask Blake, any update on tight ends? We'll talk about that, and we'll talk about that right now as we get started. So look, there has been, for whatever reason, some people questioning where Brian Kelly is going to use and what he's going to do with the remaining spots in recruiting. Now, let me tell you this, and this is something that I've been working on and getting and have gotten from people inside the building at LSU. There has been a pretty big collaborative from it being the recruiting staff, whether it be from guys already on the staff, whether it be coordinators, Mike Denbrock, Matt House, whatever, however you want to label it, with Brian Kelly. One thing that's interesting that they're collaborating on and they're looking into is obviously the positions of need. Now, Brian Kelly already knows the positions he needs. He knows what he wants. But it's not so much on the positions of need, but where they want to use the remaining spots that they have left in this recruiting class. Guys, I fully expect and fully believe that Brian Kelly is going to hold one, possibly two spots moving into the end of spring. Maybe there is a situation where a player that goes into a portal who loses out in the battle, that for whatever reason goes into the portal and LSU has their eyes on him. Now, there has been a couple of tight ends that have gone into the portal, tight end from Clemson, tight end from Notre Dame, but there is a very big collaborative going on and around LSU right now. It's not just Brian Kelly making the moves. It's not just like it has been in the past, Ed Orgeron making the move. Now, he used guys like Bill Bush, he used guys like Greg McMahon, but it was really just a two-coach approach here going after a current person in the transfer portal. However, this is a whole staff ordeal. Now, let me tell you when I hear that and I see that Brian Kelly's bringing a part of his staff together to talk about this, honestly, it makes me feel a lot more comfortable about what's going on in football ops. A lot more comfortable. Because if you really think about it, what if there's a discussion about a player or a position of need that LSU is going after that, quite honestly, maybe doesn't make sense? Or if there's a player that has a connection with the coach that's already on the staff and he might be on the opposite side of the ball. You got to give Brian Kelly credit where credit's due, man. You got to give him credit where credit's due. He's not going to leave any stone unturned when it comes to this recruiting process. No stone unturned. For whatever reason at Notre Dame, and we'll have Brian Driscoll on tomorrow too, and he covers Notre Dame, has been a part of Notre Dame, coached at Notre Dame, player at Notre Dame, all of that. And he's going to break it down for us, for Brian Kelly, and how he builds his teams. And it's going to shock you, some things he's going to tell you. Some things you already know, but some things are going to really, really shock you on the way that Brian Kelly approaches building a successful program. It's very meticulous. But coaches that are historically meticulous and attention to detail on everything that they do usually has a lot of success. Now, as Brian Kelly goes to Alabama tomorrow for the SEC coaches convention or clinic or whatever they're calling it, whatever they want to call it, which that's going to be fireworks in and of itself because of the Brian Harsin news. By the way, it would appear that Brian Harsin's going to be there tomorrow, and he hasn't lost his job just yet. Regardless, it's going to be an interesting feat to see all of that going on. Yeah, I see that we have just a little bit of lag. I'm seeing we have just a little bit of lag. But we're fixing it. We're fixing it. Adam B on YouTube, $49.99 super chat. Thank you, Adam B. He says, first small contribution to the Rudy Crew NIL fund. Well, I don't know. We might have to fix some of that stuff. But regardless, just say for everybody that's listening that you are contributing to AYS, and we'll know what it's about. We'll know what it's about. Let's get to a couple comments before we get to our good friend Braden Fajoko. He is going to be joining us. Penn Jones says, all eyes of an assassin for Joe Burrow. Man, are y'all – I mean, look, and Braden might be able to talk about this a little bit more. But, man, are you watching him right now? It feels Clemson-ish. It feels Clemson-ish. Remember when Joe Burrow was in an interview and they asked him, hey, here's a picture of you. And what would you tell this kid? What does this kid look like? And he goes, looks like a national champion. They did the same thing to him, and he says, looks like a Super Bowl champion too. That dude's a monster, bro. He's a monster. Okay. Duck Hunter 97 says, hashtag Ask Blake, is there a chance that Besh stays at tight end after how it worked out last season? No, I think that LSU, from what the things that I hear, the things that I'm picking up, that they're going to look for somebody in the transfer portal. And look, Braden was in the transfer portal, but too. I mean, he coming from Texas Tech, coming over to LSU. I wonder what that process was like for him. We do got to talk to him very quickly, though, about the top 5 fast food restaurants. We'll get to LSU. But my God, don't trash Whataburger. I'm gonna be honest. I don't really have Whataburger. I think it's ass, if we're just being honest. All right, okay. You're gonna get me on me. I'm just not a Whataburger guy. Just not. All right, 2 more, and then we'll get to Mr. Fajoko. Marcus says BK brought to change the game, and he really is. There's some things that I'm hearing that they're talking about and they're going through offensively. There's a lot of things that I'm hearing that they're going through defensively. The install that LSU is currently going through, what LSU want, the philosophy that they want to do on offense. Guys, we talked about this last night, and it's continuing to be a little bit more confirmed here. Guys, LSU's going to have to spread the ball out. Now, how Mike Denbrock wants to run the football, does he want to go out of gun? He used a lot of pistol formations. They run a lot of zone read, something that Brian Kelly definitely wants his offensive line to implement and run. All of that being said, LSU is going to, and they're going to have to attack downfield and spread the ball out. This 2 tight end, 13 personnel type of stuff, it's going to be for the birds, man. It's going to be for the birds. One last thing, because we said 2 things. One last thing, and we'll wait a little bit later in the show. The concepts that, from the running game perspective defensively with Jamar Cain and the passing game coordinator stuff from Cortez Hankton are even being implemented into this offense a little bit too. So something to keep our eyes on. Okay, let's do this. We got to get to Mr. Fajoko. I mean, my man is just killing it on social media right now. He's got the whole club up in here talking about fast food. But we're going to talk to him about the Super Bowl and LSU. We got to. But let's get to a very quick break, and then we'll bring him in here. None better than our good friends over at NordVPN and our good friends over the Drake Williams Law Firm, drakewilliamslawfirm.com. Guys, what's more important than a peace of mind? Absolutely nothing. And that's what you need here with NordVPN. NordVPN is the world's best VPN service, offering the fastest connectivity, most servers, and next-gen encryptions to make sure that everything you do and everything that you are part of online stays secure. You have small children. You don't want them to get into something that and I know that they will get into. NordVPN has you covered. So grab your exclusive NordVPN deal today by going to nordvpn.com/believe. That's right. Use the Believe, BLEAV tab to get your 70% off NordVPN Plan Plus, and let them know, and they will know, since you're in the state of Louisiana, that your good friend Mr. Blake Ruffino sent you on by. And our good friends over the Drake Williams Law Firm, drakewilliamslawfirm.com, 985-386-7600. 985-386-7600 is the insurance company giving you the runaround after Hurricane Ida. Give them a call today in reference to contacting your insurance company, and they'll give you a free consultation to work all of that out for you. Go to drakewilliamslawfirm.com. Titles, successions, real estate, they do it all. So Drake Williams Law Firm, the drakewilliamslawfirm.com. All right, we have our good friend Braden Fajoko joining us. Braden, I got to tell you, my brother, you've been making waves about this fast food stuff. What has been the biggest thing that you've seen since talking about fast food? And what is your top 5, by the way? What's your top 5 best fast food restaurants?
So it depends, right? I think it all comes down to whether you're looking at like a quick burger or if you're looking at just like fast food chains in general. Because if you're talking about fast food chains as a whole, then you start to put in like fried chicken or if this place has the best fries. But if we're going to go solely off of, 5 fast food chains in general, I think number 1 for me is McDonald's.
Okay.
It's a staple. It's an original. It's got to be in your Mount Rushmore of fast food. If it's not, then you're probably too young or you don't know good food. Number 2 for me is Whataburger. I've said it. I've stood on this hill for a long time.
Okay.
I'm willing to go down swinging for it. Number 3 is for sure Popeyes. I love Popeyes. Good Louisiana kitchen right there.
Right.
Gotta have some spicy thighs and Cajun fries. That's what I like to live by. Brother. Number 4 for me is a toss up, right? Between now it depends if you're like a true burger guy or you could go, I want a little bit of everything, but I kind of like Five Guys because I'm a big burger guy and I love a good place that has a good burger. And I think Five Guys is when they cook the patties and I always go get 5 patties on my burger at Five Guys. It's a game changer. Their fries are also good. And then I'm probably gonna end the top 5 with this is a tough one, but I don't know. It's up for grabs. Those are my top 4.
Well, that's good. I mean, look, as long as you didn't have In-N-Out in that thing, we're good. What's going on with you and In-N-Out? I see the disappointment in your eyes as I talk to you.
No, it hurts, because it's overly hyped. I don't get the hype for it, and for me, I'm gonna relate it to football, right? In football, if you're a one-trick pony, you better be a damn good one-trick pony. And for a place like In-N-Out to be a one-trick pony for burgers and drinks, it doesn't hit like it should. I said it. Their bread is like cardboard, and their patties are like the size of an elf working at the North Pole. You know what I mean? It's not gonna get. It's gonna take 364 days for that thing to get done for you. You know what I'm saying? And I just feel like if you're gonna be a one-trick pony, like a Five Guys, or you can go in and get a burger, it's got to be a darn good burger. And so that's why In-N-Out just doesn't get it done for me. You know what I mean?
I feel you. Look, the only thing, and look, I know a lot of people, especially my wife, is going to probably stab me in the neck. As long as you didn't have Chick-fil-A in the top 4, me and you are going to be okay. Now, Raising Cane's, it's whatever. I'll throw one in there to you, and we'll get to some more LSU stuff. I know they're firing it in here, but Sonic, man, I'm a sucker for Sonic, man. Yeah. I mean, the burger, like I'm a burger guy too, man. Mm-hmm. And fries, it's whatever. But man, when you get a hamburger from Sonic, man, there's just nothing better and more classic than a good burger.
See, here's what I was gonna do with my 5th spot. It was either gonna be Sonic or Wendy's, and I like Sonic because Sonic is just diverse, right? Happy hour at Sonic, you can't go wrong with a Route 44. You know what I'm saying? Like,
no doubt.
I get a strawberry vanilla Dr. Pepper. It just hits different. You know what I'm saying? Like,
oh, dude. By the way, I got to tell you, my best friend told me about like all the different combinations of Dr. Pepper flavors that Sonic had. Changed my world. Just completely changed my world. So
elite.
Look, keep doing what you're doing with that because I'm not gonna lie, don't go in there and speak because I'll lose my mind. But I think you're on to something here. Brain Foco, defensive tackle for the Los Angeles Chargers. Last time I kept saying San Diego Chargers. Brain, when you joined us, it was difficult. Man, look, we got the Super Bowl going on this week. I don't know how much you're watching it, but are watching the coverage of it. But look, you got guys like Jamar Chase that you're teammates with, Joe Burrow that you're teammates with. You had them play in the AFC Championship game against a team that's in your division, in the Kansas City with Clyde and Darryl and all those guys. Man, I know that you want to be there, and I know that that's a goal for you. But man, when you see those guys and what all of your teammates from 2019 are doing, what's the first thing that you think about?
Not surprised. um, it's what we built, in 2019. It was just our culture. I talk about it on Twitter. I talk about it on social media all the time. I think culture lasts a lot longer than quick wins and quick talent. We built the winning culture down there in Baton Rouge, and those are characteristics that we carried amongst our teams wherever we went, our own ways. Joe with the Bengals, Clyde with the Chiefs. I mean, everywhere. Guys, Rashard with Arizona, and Christian in Tennessee. You can go down the whole list.
Right.
But what we built was just a hardworking, head down culture that, we wanted to set the foundation for. And like when everybody goes, man, did you guys had Jamar and Jay Jets, did you guys ever think they were going to be this good? And when they asked me in the locker room, I said, yeah, I saw it every day in practice. It doesn't surprise me what they're doing now in the NFL. People kind of be like, oh man, like, dang, this Joe Burrow guy is taking the league by storm. Well, I saw Joe put in the work, every day during the summer. So it doesn't surprise me, and super proud. I always, we always text back and forth in our group messages, or if we're texting one-on-one, and we just share just times about, how we're just grateful for how far we've come, what we were able to do, and, we're just proud of each other's success. So I'm so happy to see those guys on that pedestal this weekend.
It's interesting, Brain, that you talk about that, because look, we've talked about this on this show before, and I know that it was kind of like tongue in cheek a little bit, right? Like meaning it was kind of the LSU 2019 high, but now that it's kind of getting for real with a lot of these guys. I mean, a lot of these guys are taking over. Look, you're having a lot of success where you're at, okay? And so when you see this, is there something in the locker room, like take us behind, like in your locker room, when you just talked about guys asking you those questions about Jamar and things like that, do you ever have that debate with the guys? Hey, 2019 was the best college football team of all time. I mean, you gotta stamp it now, right? Like it's stamped.
It's stamped, man, of course. and there's conversations every week, even when LSU was 5-5, the year after the Natty and even the down year they had this year. I'm still gonna, whatever we did, I always tell people, I just said it's just different. The level of dominance we played at and how deep we were as a team, I don't think you can match that. And I tell people, I say the closest team that could probably match our talent, and not talent, but in a game, if we were to play, was probably 2020 Alabama. And I say this because it's very similar styles of play, explosive offense, defenses that get turnovers, not really stingy defenses, but stout enough to the point where we could get our offense back the ball if we needed to.
Right.
A lot of people, when I tweeted, a week ago, and I said people are still questioning if we're the best team or not, people will bring up Texas, Vince Young. People brought up the Miami Hurricanes in the early days. And don't get me wrong, this is not disrespecting those teams. Those teams are really great teams, right? Vince Young, I mean, USC teams, Reggie Bush, Lindale White. You can name, I mean, Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, Michael Irvin. You can name all these guys from Miami, back in the day, Cortez Kennedy. But when you look at the style of play they were doing back then, I mean, those guys are playing against quarterbacks that were doing 12-step drops under center. Like,
right.
No offense to guys like, Warren Sapp and stuff, but,
right.
You're going against an offense that, the quarterback takes a 12-step drop underneath center. That doesn't happen nowadays. Joe was getting the ball and releasing it in like 1.98 seconds every snap.
That's
by the time these guys are trying to run a pass rush stunt or trying to get up the field, I mean, they're gasping for air on the 5th, 6th play of the drive in an up-tempo offense. It's just a different style of play compared to how it was back then. That's why I say we are the best team ever, because we were able to play at a high level for an elite amount of time for 15 games and no losses.
Mm-hmm. Right. And Braden, even going to your career, just talking about you specifically, how much did that help you transition into going with the Chargers? I mean, man, look, that entire defensive line y'all had. I mean, look what they're doing. I mean, now Glenn's going into the NFL. He's going to more than likely be drafted. But, Braden, there's a chance that 5 guys, maybe even, 6 guys from that defensive line that you were a part of after the end of this draft is about to be drafted. I mean, when you talk about depth and you think about it, you got Kayvon Chasson, you have you You have Rashard Lawrence. You have Tyler Shelvin. Now you got the younger guys when you were there. Neil Farrell, Glenn Logan. When you look at it now and life is starting to play out, when you look back at that room specifically, what do you think about?
I think about, and it's crazy, I could text you videos, but I was going through my camera roll the other day, and there was a video of all of us. We were up at the indoor, and it was a Friday night during the summer, and it was 10:30. There was nobody there, and we had one of the strength coaches. He gave us a key, so we could always go in, hit bags, do whatever we wanted whenever we wanted. So the timestamp is on my phone. It's like 10:30, 11 at night, and we're just in there, just grinding. Like there's a video camera in the indoor that catches everything, and Rashard's hitting bags. Me and Neil, we're doing get-offs. Then after that, we get done. We're running hundreds to finish off the night. It's a Friday night. Everybody's in Tigerland. On the D-line, we're out there just grinding. And then as we leave, here come the quarterbacks and the receivers ready to do some 7-on-7 routes, and it's 11 at night. You know what I'm saying? That's when I knew we had something going on special. During the summer, when regular college students were living their life, we had a set destination and goal that nothing was going to stop us this year. And it showed later on that fall when we just started mollywopping people on every Saturday.
Bro, because look, I don't, as a part of the media availabilities, I don't go to a lot of games. We do the post game, so it's really difficult for me to be there. But I made an exception. So talking about even the Georgia State game, like I'm down there on the sideline, stay there the whole game, and like the time frame was off, and Joe was off by like 3 minutes, and he's yelling at everybody. I'm like, Jesus Christ, like, dude, calm down. And like we're passing by each other, we make eye contact, and it gives me that little Joe Burrow smirk. You know what I mean? Like the little small. I'm like, dude, chill out. And it's funny when you like these small stories, and now you see all of this going on. Brain Foco is our guest. We do have a question for you for our good friend Pooh Bear. He says, #Ask B-Man, what was the deciding factor in choosing LSU when you left Texas Tech? And now, and look, Braden, a lot of LSU fans are going to ask that because look at the transfer portal now. And look, you built that connection. You were talking about that connection with being in the indoor with all those guys. But now that you see the portal, and what was your number one, your decision to leave, but number two, like Pooh said, to come to LSU?
I think that's a great question. And I think I have a great answer. What made me choose LSU, leaving Texas Tech? Leaving Texas Tech was really tough, right? Because I made all Big 12 as a freshman All-American. I started every game there for 2 years. But where I am right now in my career in the NFL, I pretty much owe it to LSU as far as my development as an athlete and as a defensive lineman. If I stayed at Texas Tech, I have no doubt in my mind I get drafted, which is really good. It's, every kid in college wants to have that dream and goal. But going to LSU, taking the harder route, taught me how to mature and taught me how to develop as a man and as a player on and off the field. And what that did for me was those 3 years at LSU set me up for longevity in the NFL, working with Coach Pete, working with Coach O, Coach Aranda, Dennis Johnson, Bill Johnson, all these great guys, Tommy Moffitt, that Jack Marucci, that surrounded every athlete there, that gave them all the tools and necessities to succeed. I took advantage of that. And as like every player that went to LSU did, that has a long career, the tools you're given at LSU is just unmatched. And I'm being biased here because I only went to LSU. I didn't go to multiple schools.
Right.
But what I was given as far as the tools to put in my toolbox to succeed in life was filled by the time I left LSU.
Brandon, it's interesting that you talk about that because it's so interesting to talk about guys. Look, when I was in college and I played, there wasn't the portal, right? And so it was a different time. And I always wonder, like, hey man, if it was could I have transferred somewhere? And I can only imagine like the decision and the tough decisions that you had to make and what you were feeling. And look, we're all glad that you came to LSU. We're super excited that you came to LSU. But that's just interesting to hear someone that's been in the portal and gone through that and chose LSU behind that. Look, I do want to get to one more or two more, Brain, before we get you out of here. Look, the Super Bowl, I don't know. Are you in LA currently? Are you?
I'm back in my home in Texas.
Okay. So I was going to see if you were in LA, if you were going to go to the Super Bowl, but since you're in Texas, I guess not. Let's focus on that. You've probably watched both of these teams, I would assume, a little bit. What do you think the Super Bowl comes down to? And I don't want to ask you who you're rooting for, but I got to have a feeling. But how do you see this game? What are you feeling?
Well, we played both teams this year. We played the Rams in the preseason, and we played Cincinnati later on in the season. And I think what both teams do well is both defenses create turnovers for their offense in the right time. Taking away from what both quarterbacks do for their offense, because both quarterbacks are elite. Matthew Stafford is a great quarterback. Joe is a phenomenal quarterback. I think it boils down to, it's so cliche saying this and it sounds so basic, but honestly, who can just protect better on Sunday and who minimizes mistakes? Because that's all the playoffs are, right? I don't think anybody, if you just read on paper, the Cincinnati Bengals are playing in the Super Bowl. Nobody really expects that. People expect the Chiefs or the Buffalo Bills versus the Green Bay Packers, something like a juggernaut matchup. But if you watch Cincinnati, in crucial moments along the playoffs this year and in their season, they were able to get turnovers and they were able to score and make plays when they needed to. Other teams do that, but they do it in the wrong times, right? Like Kansas City goes up 21-3, could have went up 24-3, got greedy, went for a touchdown, and now it's 21-3. Cincinnati kind of has that stop with Eli Apple, before halftime, and now they got a little momentum going. You go up 24-3, that's a lot different. That's a 21-point difference between 17 and or 21-3 and 24-3, So I think both teams, both defenses, it's really going to come down to whoever creates more turnovers this weekend.
One last one, just to kind of add on that. I didn't want to ask you, but is there a team that you're leaning towards? Do you think that Joe and Jamar are able to take it over, or do you see the Odell Beckham LSU side and Andrew Whitworth side? If you had to bet or do you can't bet. So let me backtrack. Who are you just placing your trust in? How about that?
So it's crazy, right? My trust is it's definitely in Joey B, right? Because Joey B is a proven winner. I mean, it's hard to come back 21 against Kansas City and Arrowhead.
No doubt.
But opposite of Joey B is probably one of the greatest defensive players to ever play the game of football.
Right.
And as we all know, Joey B doesn't have the best, protection up front, which is going to be a given. Not everybody has the best, like as a whole team. Every NFL team doesn't have the best strengths, whether it's DBs, wide receivers, and Cincinnati, I feel like lacks offensive line strength. Really great skill position players, but they fought a lot of injuries this year, and I think if they can protect Joe, and it's been proven that if you give that guy a decent amount of time in the pocket, he makes magic happen. And it's crazy because you have a guy like Odell, what he's done this year, the road he's traveled from Cleveland now to the Rams, and a guy like Andrew Whitworth, the oldest player to start, at
so
tackle in the NFL.
So wild. Right.
You're going to be happy for whoever wins on Sunday, and I won't be surprised if the Bengals do win, and I won't be surprised if the Rams do win. Both teams well deserved.
I lied. One last one. You're in the same division as Mahomes. You've played against Mahomes multiple times. I think 4 times, right? Because
four in my career, yeah.
So what's it like playing against him? I mean, look, Joe was able to battle him twice this season and they won. But Braden, let's call a spade a spade. The way that he could that man could throw the football and the way that he scrambles, it's just uncanny. What do you do in that situation? Because look, I'm an O lineman. I know what I do. I just kind of let him. I get out of his way sometimes. But like, what do you do on that situation?
Well, I'll tell you what teams are doing is the market's going to edge rushers, right? With good quarterbacks, you would think, oh, we got to go get but the best way you stop these quarterbacks is to go get elite rushers, to put them out of 2nd and 6 situations and 3rd and 4 situations.
Right.
You put a guy like Joe, Justin Herbert, Pat Mahomes in the 3rd and 4. I mean, they're just licking at the chops at your DBs. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could have the best DBs out there, but what they do is you got to put them behind the sticks. You can't. You can't let them get ahead of the sticks. You can't let them fiddle with you, because if they do, it's a long game and it gets real, irritating in there, because you're like, bro, we can't get a stop. And when you look at it, it's like, oh, they're 3rd and 3 again, and Pat Mahomes is running an RPO and he's flinging a drag route to Tyreek Hill and he's going for 30. It's like, come on, man,
I know. I think I would feel that the biggest letdown is when he pump fakes like a 30-yard go route and then he dinks it to Travis Kelce for 30 yards. That's got to be the most gut-wrenching thing.
It's crazy. It's crazy because, I've played with really great quarterbacks in my career.
Right.
Early in my career, I played with Pat at Texas Tech, and I played with Joe at LSU, and now I get to play with Justin with the Chargers. And I forgot who I was talking to about it, but I said, man, it's when you look at all 3 quarterbacks, I think what their best asset is the fact that the systems they're in really mold and have really become accustomed to the type of player they are. Kansas City changed their dynamics for Pat Mahomes because he's a generational quarterback.
Right.
The Chargers, we have changed our offense based around Justin Herbert's strength because he's a generational quarterback. The Bengals let Joe run that offense because he's a generational quarterback. And that's really such a great thing about this game of football is you're able to see young talent and young quarterbacks like that come field generals and become, elite coordinators of the game on the field at the same time as playing. And I'm sitting here watching from the sideline, and I'm sitting here lining up opposite of Pat and all these guys. And I'm like, you have to be able to lock in because these guys are so great. Like we talked about, what do you do? You can't stop a moving train at 100 miles an hour.
Right.
Right. But you can kind of put things along the way to kind of slow it down and give yourself time to get out of the way and hopefully let that moving train die down over time. And so you're not going to come into a game and just try to shut out Pat Mahomes. You're not going to try to come into a game and shut out Justin Herbert. They're going to get theirs. That's just the type of guys they are. Joe Burrow is going to get his, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, they're going to get theirs. You just got to hope that you get the certain stops, like I said earlier, for the Super Bowl, and that perfect timing during the game to where you can give it back to your quarterback, and hopefully they make something happen.
Braden, that's so wild that you said that. Playing with those 3 quarterbacks. Really and truthfully, you could have the debate for the 3 best young quarterbacks in the league, and you played with them. But bro, you've had a life. You're only 2 years in the NFL, and you've already had a life.
Yeah.
So that's why we love you, man. Go follow Braden at Braden Fajoko 4 on Twitter. Braden, as always, man, you're absolutely fantastic. That's why everybody loves you, man. Tell everybody what you're doing. I know you talked about maybe doing like the little podcast, but what are you doing now that everybody can be in tune with and look out for?
Man, honestly, I'm just trying to interact more, with the fans, with a lot of my followers, trying to get more into a way that people can see more of my personal life.
Mm-hmm.
I think most of my high school career, most of my college career, and even part of my rookie year, I was so dialed in on football, football this, football that, and I want to post a football picture here or a football post there. I kind of want people to see more along the personal sides of Braden Fajoko, like what I'm cooking, or what are some of my favorite likes, my dislikes, what are my interests, what I'm up to today, what are my followers up to today. Because I think that goes a lot farther when you're done playing football. People will love to relate to you as a person more than what you do as an athlete, and that's something that resembles with me. And just doing a lot more of the broadcasting journalism side, doing more interviews, doing more podcasts with my friends, doing a lot more talk shows like we are now. Things where I can kind of prep myself, give myself hours, give myself repetitions to where I can get behind a camera and a microphone and get comfortable doing it, because this is something I want to do one day. And so that's just kind of what I've been up to this offseason, just kind of just chillaxing and just giving everybody a little ride of what Braden Fajoko was like off the field.
We'll talk about that. I got an interesting thought, but nevertheless, we'll talk about it. Thank you, my friend. You've been fantastic as always. Thank you so much. Hey, tell your dad I said hello. My man's always giving me big shout-outs. I love him to death. Every time I used to see him at the games, he always used to give me a big go. By the way, don't tell him. He almost broke my back. Man can squeeze, bro.
You're about to make him go hit the gym tonight.
Bro, just as long as he don't break my back again. Anyway, thank you, my friend. We'll talk again soon.
Appreciate it, Blake. Have a good day, brother.
You too, bud. That is Braden Fajoko. Guys, just one of the best. one of the best. I love his dad to death, though, too, man. His dad will crack you up. His dad will crack you. And look, as massive of a man as he is and strong as he is, man, just the most kindest man you'll ever meet in your life. Anyway, Rob sends us $19.99 via Super Chat on YouTube. He says, hey, Blake, BK is doing a great job in such a short period of time. In a few years, people will see. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sending us the $19.99. Yeah, Braden was absolutely fantastic. And Rick, I'm sorry, man, I missed your comment. He said, hashtag Ask Braden. Thanks, man. Who's your Super Bowl pick Sunday? I think that he wasn't gonna give that away, but he's just so great. And Craig Schilling says B-Man is killing it. Smart analysis. Yeah, we're gonna talk to him. You know, my man Fahoko wants to do this kind of stuff. Let's see what you know, we got a little. We might have a little something. We moving on up. All right, I want to talk about very quickly. Fire in all of your questions, though. Before we get to that, fire in all your questions. We'll end the show by doing that. Hashtag Ask Blake. We have a lot to talk about. But when you bring on such great guests, man, sometimes those topics just have to get tabled to another day. But fire in any questions you have, topics that you have, and we'll get to them. LSU sports in general. But just want to mention my good friend Richie Roche over at Roche's Lawn and Landscape, 225-937-7220. That's 225-937-7220. Guys, we had a Richie over at a house. You want to do outdoor kitchen spaces. You want to get your yard landscaped, anything, just a basic grass cutting. And if you're in the greater Baton Rouge area, he will be able to get to you very quickly. So good. His crews are fantastic. Again, that's Richie Roche over at Roche's Lawn and Landscape, and our good friends over at Restore Atlas. Guys, I got to give a testimonial about my friends over at Restore Atlas. They've only been with us just to start the month, but I talked to someone today, maybe or maybe not, they're in my family, but due to Hurricane Ida, fence was blown over, roof was severely damaged, and they called Restore Atlas. They've been calling roofing companies. They've been calling their insurance companies, been getting delayed, but Restore Atlas was there to them within 30 minutes. Restore Atlas, they're veteran-owned, 5-star rated insurance assistance available, local, reliable, and trusted. Call them today at 225-244-9396. That's 224-9396. Tell them your good friend Blake Ruffino over at AYS sent you on by. The Creole King on YouTube says, hashtag Ask Blake, who's your pick for Saints OC? I don't know that, but I got to tell you, and look, I admit where I'm wrong. I did not think that the Saints would keep Pete Carmichael. However, I thought that they would keep Pete Carmichael, and I'm glad that they're moving on from him. Who I picked for that position, though, however, we will table that conversation for when our good friend John Hendricks comes on with us tomorrow. We'll talk a lot of Saints stuff tomorrow night with him. Dorian on YouTube says, this is one of the best interviews I've ever listened to. Fahoko is well-spoken, guys, smooth with words. He will have a career on TV when he's done playing. Dude, he will. We're going to talk to him. We're going to talk to him. James Washington says, should bring B-Man and Carter on during the season for a film breakdown. Boy, during the season for Braden, though, would be tough. I mean, because he's playing. But that would be interesting. Maybe during the offseason we could. Definitely maybe during the offseason we could. Now, that would be very interesting. Duck Hunter 97 says, imagine if the Saints would have figured out a way to end up with Jefferson and Chase. Yeah, it would have been crazy, but it wasn't going to happen. Penn Jones says, his dad picked me up after a game like I was a 3-year-old instead of 265 pounds. Dude, I'm telling you, bro. And, guys, I'm 6'3", 280 pounds. I mean, look, I might be long still and sex appeal, but that man's strong. Brandon Reed says Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Boyd, and Mixon on the Saints with that defense. Yeah, I wish. It's not really realistic tonight, though. Alex says, anybody doing a space tonight? If somebody does one and hosts one, I'll join it for a little bit. I'll join it. But in reference to staying there all night, it was actually kind of peaceful not having one last night. But But yeah, Derek Street says you're going to have to start going 2 hours. We're really thinking about it. We're really thinking about it. But I'm on here for 2 hours. You can get up and leave. But we're making our ways to that, and we've been talking about it. We're going to be going a little bit longer than the hour. We got to set some things up. Rick says Bride has a likability factor. How can you not love him? Thanks for having him on, Blake. No problem. We're going to be bringing on a lot more guests too. Let's see. Jeff Futch says, #Ask Blake, do you have any thoughts on our weekend rotation? Will be in Jay's inaugural season. #forever LSU. Not really. I mean, I think that you got Devin Fontenot that's going to be in there somewhere. What does Ty Floyd do? I don't specifically know. what they're going to do. I think, they're going to have to change it up a little bit. Look, they're going to hit a lot, but right now, guys, the pitchers are getting absolutely rocked right now by this lineup for LSU baseball, like rocked. And that does not bode well for me. That makes me very nervous. Very, very, very nervous. Jasmine on YouTube says, is there a date for the spring game yet? Not that I'm aware of. I'll have to get that, but I don't. Yeah. Pooh Bear says, long, steel, and sex appeal. LOL, I'm using that. Look, man, I didn't invent the wheel. I just stole it and put it on my car. What about that one? This old vet on YouTube sends us $29.99 via Super Chat. He says, no topic, just appreciation for a great interview. Thank you. What are you doing? All right. You miss me? Okay, come on. You miss Daddy. Have a kiss.
I'm colors.
What?
I'm colors.
You want colors? What color is this?
We.
It's what?
We.
Green. Okay. What color is this?
Red.
Red. Don't get that all over you, buddy.
Mommy.
What is this?
We.
Green. And what is this?
I'm open.
No, we're going to open it at the daddy show, okay? Okay. Oh. What is this? Sinosaur. You got me. Okay. Ben, you want to, what do you think about this baseball season? Are you looking forward to baseball? All right. Red. Carl Dunn says, where's Zach Pearson? We need an appearance for him. We'll get him. All right, guys, it looks like we are going to have to cut it a little bit short tonight. Red? Okay, here you go. All right, but Brave Falcon was awesome. We're going to guess it up again tomorrow. We'll go a little bit longer tomorrow, too, because we do have some good guests. Hold on, maybe not. Bye. Brittany and Jeremy says, #AskBlake, baseball on my mind for sure. But what about the football recruiting news as of today? I know that they're going into extensive detail on trying to find the positions they want to use it for. I know that they've talked about and pretty much almost confirmed that they want to leave maybe 2 spots into after spring. And I know my good buddy Stan's going to get after me when I say this. I still believe that they're going after a quarterback. I know Stan hates me for saying that, but we'll see. Doug Hunter says, I'm good with Fontenot and Hilliard. It's everyone after that. That's the question. I agree with that. Hey, do not go tell mommy you're coloring with this. Rick says, thanks for a great show, Blake. What's the latest on Harson? Any players at OU, LSU might have interest? Maybe the Alsbury kid. But yeah, there is some. And Kim Silva says, or sends us $20 via Super Chat. She says, great show, and thanks. Thank you. All right. Yes. If someone wants to start a Spaces, I'll join there in a minute. We'll see you guys tomorrow. I want to give a shout out to my good friend Carol Foss over at State Farm, guys. 985-395-4300, 985-435 or 395-4300. You need good rates in the state of Louisiana, auto, home, and life insurances. He will be there for you again. 985-395-4300. Tell him Blake sent you on by. All right, guys. We'll see you again tomorrow. Y'all have a good night. Peace out, Girl Scouts.